are some places where they dress differently, so it's very easy to know who is what. Yes? But the reality that he's speaking to seems to suggest what? Why is it confusing? They look the same. Meaning, I don't know what you are. I mean, that t-shirt's not very cool, but I don't know what you are. I'm just picking on your t-shirt. I have no way of knowing. We all look the same. Also, but more important, ethnically, there's no ethnic, the idea that Jews look different. Look at the way the Pope is speaking compared to some of the images we saw where Jews are depicted with grotesque features. The Pope knows that Jews, Christians, Muslims, they all look the same, and we better have them dressed differently, because every now and then it's happening that by mistake, Jews and Christians, and Jews and Muslims and Christians are getting it on, and we don't want that. So therefore, Coda, so Jews and Muslims have to wear different clothing. Now, there aren't many Muslims in Europe in this point, almost zero. So it's really only applied to Jews. By the way, the Muslims have done this to the Christians, and we'll look at that in a couple of weeks. The Dhimmi law, which we'll look at in a few weeks' time, is exactly the same. Christians and Jews need to wear different clothing because we want to know who's who. But we can see what we know where that ended up. Oh, Yasmin, can you read the Deutsch? Der Judenzeichen, welche, was? Sie ihren... Kannst du übersetzen? The Jewish badge, which it is their... it's there for us. The Jewish badge of guilt, which it is their tragedy to wear. Yes? That's where it comes from. You can see where all of these things have their origins. We'll see this more next week, and that's why I want you to watch the doco, the reenactment of the disputations, where the Jews of a city are called to attend a disputation where the Christians are going to convince the Jews that Jesus was the Messiah, and if the Jews lose the debate, they all have to convert or leave. This happened repeatedly. Disputations. Not just disputations, conversionary sermons, where Jews are forced to attend Sunday morning. So Jews' day of rest is Saturday, yes, Sabbath. Sunday is a normal day for the Jews. But Jews are forced in many places on Sunday morning to turn up and hear conversionary sermons. In fact, so those of you who have been to Stella, you'll remember at the entrance to the ghetto in Rome. I don't know if you remember, I pointed out there was an amazing thing with Jesus talking. Jesus sort of speaking to the Jews, my ignorant nation, come back to me or something. That's where Jews were forced to stand and hear these conversionary sermons. We have accounts in Spain of the Jews falling asleep during these sermons on Sunday morning and soldiers slapping them across the face to keep them awake. But again, it's part of the shaming of the Jew. More serious is the accusation against the Talmud. The Talmud, as I've said in the past, is the document of Judaism. The Talmud's big. It's like, 30 volumes of big, fat, complicated Aramaic text. It is Jewish law. It's the entirety of Rabbinic Judaism. Entirely, 80% Rabbinic Judaism. It is the heart of what it is to be a Jew, is the Talmud. Christians didn't care about the Talmud or even know about the Talmud, really, until the 12th century. And the scholastics and the Hebraic Veritas, that tradition of Christians, started to take an interest in Jewish texts. And they take an interest in the Talmud. And they encounter some of those texts that we looked at last week. Not the Kung Fu Jesus, but remember the other one about Pantera. Yes? Yes? Is that ringing a bell? Yes? And they think, that's heresy. That is heresy. A Christian wouldn't be allowed to say, a Christian isn't allowed to say heretical things about Jesus in this time. Persecuting society, not just against Jews, against all heretics. The Talmud is accused of heresy, put on trial in Paris by Franciscans, found guilty of heresy, and burned publicly. We'll find, of course, huge book burnings when, later, of course, in Nazi Germany, we'll also find huge book burnings. But the origins of all of these things go back to the medieval period, go back to this period. And remember, burning books, this is pre-printing press. So books are written by hand. Number one, they cost a lot of money. Number two, communities probably only had one or two sets of Talmuds. So to burn them is a tragedy. It's a tragedy. It's the equivalent of, imagine if, I can't even think of an equivalent, all the university libraries in Australia were burned. That's what we're dealing with. Not to mention it's symbolic meaning. And this was Franciscans and Dominicans. And often converted Jews who led the charge. Jews who became Christian, who led the charge against Judaism. It's like reformed smokers, the ones who they're always telling you not to smoke. They're always the most zealous. It's the same with the Jews who converted to Christianity, and there were, throughout history, there were Jews who converted to Christianity, and the other way around, by the way. We also have Christians converting to Judaism, but that was less attractive, obviously, because, yeah. No, except converts. So first of all, it's a huge topic. So Judaism certainly used to be open to conversion. We saw that in the 4th century, Constantine, Edict of Milan, the ban on conversion, 319, so it became illegal for people to convert to Judaism. So if you convert to Judaism, it became illegal for Jews to seek converts. So Judaism retreated from seeking converts. So that's true. But Judaism has always had two views. One which has wanted converts, and one which says, if you want to join, so that the traditional approach is, if you want to convert to Judaism, so come to me and say, no, I don't want to convert to Judaism. No, go away. Do it again. No, go away, piss off. Do it again. All right, fine. And then, so I have to send you away twice, and if you're really keen the third time, then I can start teaching you. So that's the traditional Jewish view. He's like, it's not a numbers game, we don't want converts, but if someone's genuinely moved to join, then they can. But it's a very complicated story. Disputations, burning of the Talmud, conversionary sermons, and you can see where we're heading. We're heading into, precisely, Pam, you were asking about ghettos. That will happen, the first ghetto will be 1522 in Venice. Yeah. Yeah. Because the Talmud is not the Old Testament. The Talmud is considered in this period by the Christians as a debauched, disgraceful Judaism. That the Judaism, exactly. So you can see where we're heading to the period of seclusion and the ghettos. Here, Judengasse, the Jewish street, or the ghetto in Venice, very crowded, low ceilings, very poor conditions. The word ghetto comes from the first ghetto. There's a debate about what the word actually means, but let's not worry. But it derives from the first ghetto in Venice in the early 16th century. And ultimately, you can see in this map of Jewish expulsion from region to region. In England in 1290, in Spain only in 1492. But you can see the Jews progressively being moved to the east and to the Ottoman Empire, where they'll find shelter. Okay, so that's the big, broad story. Let's take a 3-minute break, and then we're going to do a play.